recruitment and all of that. So, and recruitment may be an easy entry route, but most time people struggle with the technical part, maybe learning and development, compensation and benefit, then performance management. So for me, being a very strong performance management professional, I just want to do this to help the community. I was going to have a paid class earlier, because why I do paid classes is because of people's number one, attention and seriousness. You can't invest so much in training and people just don't show up, or people show up, they go out anytime they like and all of that. So that's why um, we do paid classes. Personally, I do paid classes. Now, this training now, I have over 120 or 30 persons register. Now you can see the number we have currently online. Imagine if you paid for it, definitely you would show up, on time and be in class. So that's why we do paid classes. So most of other things, I do paid classes, but sometimes I also feel let's just give back to the community. So let's run. I'm just going to start first sharing with you. Good morning, Abibola. Good to hear from you. Through my own personal journey and just to get to know me, for those who are knowing me for the first time, I know I have a few of my friends also on the call. I can see you somewhere, Adela from Alex. Well done. All right, so I started my career in Alistair Green Limited as a junior, as an intern at first. Then I moved to becoming the junior HR consultant. Alistair Green is a consulting firm, here in Lagos. So from there, I moved to Light Hill Investment Company, where I became the HR and admin officer there. Now, was not reporting to any manager, directly to the MD. So I was more like, they don't call it manager then, but then it's what it is because of what the company could pay. So the title had to be more like an admin role, HR officer role. So from there, I moved to Blair Apple Consulting. Blair Apple Consulting is a consulting firm that has clients. So I was servicing two clients then, Aptics and Webhoopers. So that's why it's the same thing. So I was working on the side of the consulting firm and also on the client side. So as the HR associate and consultant then, before I moved to Decagon. Decagon is a tech education company. Some of us may know Decagon as the learning and development lead. So I became a specialist at that point as a learning and development lead. From Decagon, then moved to FedEx. FedEx, a multinational logistics firm, as the people specialist for Nigeria. Started FedEx in Nigeria proper. The entire team in FedEx currently in Nigeria, I was the one who put that team together, and that's still the team they have even till today. So Nigeria, I was also then managing some other African countries, Eswatini, Namibia, and Swaziland, as at that time as the people specialist. Then moved on from there to Alex. Alex is a law firm, one of the top tier law firm in Nigeria at the moment, as the HR generalist. And then from Alex, I'm currently with Radar. Radar is the people and culture manager. Radar is an IT firm into procurement, asset management, and all of that across about currently we're servicing actively about 50 countries and cumulatively about 170 countries globally, right? So that's been my own personal journey. In human resources, generally, we have had to be either a generalist and sometimes a specialist. But even as a generalist, I still have a lot of knack for learning and development and performance management. And these two are intertwined. And it's one of the things that has shaped my journey. And everything I'm going to be sharing with us today is basically from what I've done with even each of these companies I've worked with as a 9-to-5 person. But outside of the 9-to-5, I do consulting, right? I do trainings, consult on projects. I've worked with several, a number of companies as well in this regard. Some of them are on the screen, just to share a bit of my journey as well before we get started. In consulting, I've worked with Inlax, worked with Tranex, worked with Leventis, Decagon, Adeco, Zcrest, Cedaville, NNPC Human Capital Team, Beacon Gate Consulting, Empo Insurance, most recent, Trino Studio, Alistair Green Aptics, FSDH Bank, right? So I've worked with these people in different capacity, from competency modeling and curriculum framework development to their graduate training program design, trainings, performance management system design, performance management framework design, talk about even in compensation and benefit, job evaluation work, all of these things. So these are some of the people I've worked with over the years, that has given me a better understanding of how some of these things work. So that's just you getting to meet me as we delve into it. So my name is Olufemi Pitoye. This is what I do. I do consulting and I also work. I'm a 9 to 5 hour. So feel free to connect with me anytime if you have projects or you have anything, or you even just need, ideas and anything. It's always my pleasure to share my learnings with people within the HR community. So let's get into today, performance management. And the approach I take when I teach, when I do have my sessions, is that I want it to be that you are able to, oh, great, Olua Tobiloba, thank you. Is that I want it to be that training should not just be passing of information, you can define stuff. No, it should be that at the end of it, you can connect from point A to Z, right? You can actually go through some of these things and you know what it's about. Thank you, Binta. You know what it's about. So what I want to do today, I told you it's a basic class, so I don't expect people who are 10 years experience, 7 years experience, who would be expecting me to share some maybe frameworks and all of that. I wouldn't really do that in a sessions like this. Maybe I'll have another session which maybe will be paid, but very just the payment will be for the sake of making sure you're also responsible. That's why I do paid trainings, because if people don't have something that makes them feel obligated to the class, they may just do as they please. So, and it's not fair on the part of the trainers as well. So why we are here is principally to understand performance management. And trust me, after this class, you will be able to, you would have a basic foundation understanding of performance management. Now, my goal is that if you are called to design a performance management system for any organization, you know what you should do. That's the essence of this class. And at the end of this class, you will be able to know what you should do. If you find yourself in a place where I've done this over and over, I've done this for a few organizations. Recently, for Cedarview, designed their performance management framework. I'm currently working on a performance management system design for a tech fair currently now. So I've done this, and at least I'm able to share from my wealth of experience. So that's what we want to do today. You'll be able to connect that. They bring you to a fresh organization and say, you are the HR person. I want you to design a performance management system for us. So what does it mean? How do you go about it? That's what we want to do. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Paul. Okay. No problems. We'll talk about that after this. I'm hoping I'll be able to do justice to today's. So let's just run because of time. I really want us to get it. So a lot of organizations struggle with performance, and that's why they consult people like myself to help them with the whole performance management thing. There's a lot struggle with performance. In fact, currently, right, I was with Trino Studios early this year with a management team trying to design a framework for them that can work for their business. And it's always the same thing I've seen over and over that people go through when it comes to organizational performance management. So employee work hard, but priorities are unclear. This is one of the challenges that organizations struggle with. On the side of the employees, you feel that I'm doing all I should do. But the problem is things are still not working because priorities are unclear, right? Just like when people say things like, I was in an interview last week. I was interviewing somebody maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, HR interview. And I asked about performance management. And the person started from, I will get their job description and design KPIs and all of that. And that's a problem, right? Because your job description is like what tells us it's like a bare minimum, right? Job description is like a bare minimum that tells me that you can actually do this. Now, that you can do this is not necessarily that's what I want you to do in the moment for us to get to where we are going. Let me explain. Now, if I say that my job description as an HR person is recruitment, performance management, and development, but now we are struggling with compensation and benefit. And for this year, we want to focus on even let's say employee engagement. Now, if the direction of the company for the year is employee engagement, that my job description does not necessarily talk about employee engagement, does not mean that I would not deliver on employee engagement. Now, my job description may be talking around recruitment, performance management, and all of that. But this year, the focus of the business is employee engagement because we discovered that our attrition rate is becoming something unbearable. So job description let us know that this person is capable to do certain things, right? So, but you cannot just use KPI from job description as what is we are measuring people for. Now, this is the implication. What it means is that since my job description does not necessarily change, it means that every year you are measuring me against the same thing, but the business is not trying to achieve the same thing every year. So the business this year can be focusing on maybe we want to expand our clientele base or our reach from Lagos to Ibadan, Abeokuta, and let's say Kano. So it means that at that point, the HR person is not just going to be measured based on your recruitment prowess. It will now be based on how can we make sure we deliver and have people who can do what they should do at these different points. So what determines performance starts from understanding of the business. It's not necessarily about my job description. If you are converting job descriptions to KPIs, you would have challenges in terms of corporate performance. So let me not jump. So managers struggle to measure contribution, promotions appear subjective. Somebody can just promote based on I like TT, I don't like Tina, and that's just it. So many times these things are subjective and it's a problem for performance management practitioners, right? Rewards are also disconnected from results, and people keep asking, okay, I'm doing well, what is the benefit? Myself and the person who is not doing well, there's nothing. So what's the point? Why am I giving extra? So strategy fails during execution. So these are some of the challenges that organization face, and the root cause is often in lack of a structured performance management system. When there's no structured performance management system, you will face these challenges as an organization. And that's the job of HR professionals in an organization, particularly those who are in the performance management space. Now, I know many organizations in Nigeria currently do not have many just have one person or two persons in the HR team. The model most of organizations run is just to have a HR manager, maybe a generalist, an assistant, HR manager, an assistant, HR manager, one specialist. So that's what we do currently. But however, we as HR practitioners, I think we all should really equip ourselves with this knowledge, right? So let's move forward. So there's a common misconception. Let me start with saying that there's a common misconception about performance management. When I ask people, do you have performance management system in your organization? One of the first things they said to me is, yes, we did our appraisal last year. Like, no. That's not what I'm asking about. Performance management is not performance appraisal, right? People mistake that a lot to say because we have appraisal going on for us, we have a performance management system. So performance management is much bigger system than the whole performance appraisal thing, right? So, and like Peter Drucker said, what's measured improves, but performance appraisal is not the starting point of performance management. It's just one of the things that we do, right? So now let's look at these three important words before we now go to breaking it down to, so if I'm called to design a performance management system, how do I go about it, right? Three important things. Number one, we need to understand performance. When we say performance is saying that what really happened, right? The extent to which an individual team organization achieved the expected results within a given period. So if you tell me, Femi, by the end of this year, I want you to make ₦1 million. So if I make 60 naira, that's a performance. If I make 1 million naira, that's a performance. So performance is just like saying outcome. So performance is what happened, right? Performance measurement is important for our conversation as well. Performance measurement is how do we know what happened? Now, how do we know I made 10 naira? And this is where the challenge is a lot for us, because one of the questions people always ask is, it's easy to measure somebody who is in sales, right? Sales, bring 10 customers, you brought 4 customers. We know it's clearing. But now when we bring it back to certain roles, it becomes a bit challenging. How do we know somebody is performing and how do we measure it? Now, for an admin manager, how do we know? How do we measure what the admin manager is doing, right? So this is where the whole conversation becomes more technical and why people run away from it, right? So performance measurement is the systematic process of evaluating how well an individual, team, organization achieves predefined objectives by comparing actual results against agreed results. So how do we know you have performed at the level we want you to perform? What are you using to measure? How do you measure somebody who is a cleaner? How do you measure somebody beyond just the numbers? And that's one of the things we'll be discussing about frameworks, right? that's where the whole balance scorecard thing comes in. I know many of us will also be familiar with that. I will do a bit on that also later. So then the last one, performance management. Performance management is now that you are interested in what happens. You are interested in what will happen rather. So I'm interested in that we want to make 10 million this year, and I want it to be that we make 10 million or more. So because I'm interested in that, and if we don't measure, we'll not be able to know if we are there or not. So how we now make this happen is what we now call performance management. So the structured process of ensuring that performance happens consistently and improves over time through planning, monitoring, developing routine, and rewarding, and all of that is what we now call performance management. So performance management in itself is like saying that how do we ensure that performance, what we want, what happens, is happening consistently. So it's not just haphazardly. It's not just what happens once in a while. So there's a system we put in place that guides our people, that guides the organization on how we must achieve that performance we want to achieve. So your job as a performance management person or performance management specialist, manager, or whatever in a space, or as the HR manager, is that performance management is what are the structured process we are putting in place to ensure that we get to where we want to get to consistently. And in order to get there, one very major thing is measurement. Because if there's no measurement, we will not know if we have gotten there. And if we don't know where we are getting to, we will not get there. So how to make this happen is performance management. So that changes how we begin to look through all of our performance management. So you will see that appraiser does not necessarily, appraiser is like an end goal. It's not the process of ensuring performance happens consistently. So people just come up January to December, nothing. They just come December. Well, okay, let's do appraiser now, and let's do. No, that's not how it's done. So if you are brought to an organization now, what they're expecting you to do is to put a process in place that ensures that performance happens consistently and improves over time. So if there's no improvement, your job as a performance management specialist is not working. So it means that the system you are put in place is not producing what we want it to produce, which is performance, right? So that background will help us into the other conversations we'll be going to. Let me just get our feedback. Are you with me? Is it clear to this point? Good to this point. I always love to assume. I love to talk like basic. No need to use, that people can really understand every bit. Great. Thank you for the feedback. So now let's move forward. So now let's also now take a dive into roles and responsibilities before we go into the whole doing the stuff, because this is one of the challenges I also see when I go for management retreats. I was still at one, a very top insurance company, just last 2 weeks, and most times people just say things like they dump everything on HR desk. HR, give us our KPIs. Everybody just keeps shouting KPI. HR should do this and all of that. So it's important to also understand that for performance management to work well, we need to understand the roles and responsibilities of each person. But let me be sincere, because of the peculiarity of our environment, sometimes all of this responsibility will become yours as the HR. And I know many persons on this call can testify. Ideally, this is what it should be ideally. And what I want to teach now is the ideal thing. But I know that most of the time, especially for organizations that are not yet there, that don't have all the, teams that can help you drive these, I've worked in a place where I'm the one that designs everybody's performance goals, everybody's KPIs, as you call it, like everybody from the office assistants to the general manager, right, from different departments. That is not ideal. That's not how it should be, because you as the HR person, you are not a subject matter expert in those areas. So what you just find yourself doing is you just start using ideas, using Google and all of that. So this is the ideal thing. The employee owns professional development and assigned goals. So the goals that we have assigned and your personal professional development is your job as the employee. The employee is to communicate proactively about progress and challenges. So in the whole performance management system conversation, the employee is expected to always communicate about the progress and the challenges they are facing when goals have been assigned to them. They should be able to provide honest self-assessment on performance. And they should also receive feedback constructively for improvement. They should seek necessary resources and support. So for the employee, this is where they sit. So the employee is more like at the receiving end. So designing of goals, it could be jointly. Some organization employ, you design your goals with your manager. But most important thing is that the employee is the one who is receiving the feedback. The employee is communicating proactively on the progress and the challenges of whatever they are going through, and they are seeking resources and support in order to help them achieve goals that has been given to them. So that's for the employee. The human resource person or the human resource manager, let's use manager in this case. What is the job of the HR in the whole conversation? The HR is to design and implement the performance framework. And this is one of the things I will show to us. And in a much more maybe extensive class, I'll deal with the frameworks and how to apply it for an organization that does not have HRIS. Maybe you just want to work on Excel sheets, you want to automate and do all of that, how that is done. And if you have HRIS, how to just, that's plug and play. But you must understand the raw work before you plug and play it inside whatever HRIS you are using. So HR must understand performance frameworks. KPI is not a performance management framework, and I'm going to show us how that works. It's not. We have performance management frameworks like management by objectives, what we call MBO. We have BSC, Balanced Scorecard. We have OKRs, objective and key results. So we're going to see that. So HR person, your job is to design and implement the performance framework. What framework are we using? You have to decide. Look at your organization. What frameworks fit this organization? So you are the one as the HR person to do that. Then you now train the people and your organization on that framework. And that's one of the things I go to do with organizations that invite me for their retreats and management meetings and all of that. So I look at the framework they want to use, then I train them on it. Sometimes I train the HR persons then run it, right? So you want to train the stakeholders on effective use of the system. Now, if one of the things you are bringing is an HRS system that will help your performance stuff, you need to train the stakeholders. One of the things I did in my last place of work was that I do videos. So I just do a short videos using Loom. Loom you can do personal videos on Loom. I do videos, do how the stuff should work. Then I send it before the performance management starts, performance appraisal starts rather, to the employees on how to go about, using the HRS system for their performance stuff. So you need to be able to train the people involved, right? HR is also to ensure compliance and fairness across departments. So HR is monitoring to ensure that there's compliance to the system use and there's fairness across departments. Then HR is also, at the end of the day, you are going to be analyzing the performance data to inform strategies, right? So you are looking at the performance data after everything is done, which is what we call appraisals. You have the result outcomes. It does not just end there. You're analyzing it, the performance data, and you are informing strategies. So from there, you are seeing things like, okay, how many persons are on A level? How many persons are on B level? Why are we having our managers? We have how many managers? How many managers fall in this quarter? And so you are doing a lot of analysis to help you for the next performance cycle or the next financial year to make major decisions. So you are looking at decisions around training, decisions around how do we ensure that these people continue to maintain this performance, or those who are not meeting the performance, what do we do? How do we ensure? Now, if the entire organization score is that, so one of the things you can do is to have the entire organization score. So let's say you have 100 employees, and about when you calculated everything, you're having an average of 60%. That's not a good score. So the average score of the entire firm at 60%, that shows that we are not meeting our goal at the end of the day. If you had actually designed your performance management system well, because individual outcomes should reflect on the global outcome, right? So then you are managing the end-to-end of the performance cycle, right? So that's your job as the HR person as it concerns performance management. Now, there's now the manager, the managers of each of the employees within the business. The manager's job is to set clear expectation and performance standards. But I see that most of the time, this is dumped on HR, right? So if you are in such organization, Well, you can try to make a case. One of the things I do with my clients is I go there, I make a case for the HR person, I let people see it, and we train the managers on how to do these things, right? So you can make a case, but if it's not working, then it's just a peculiar thing. You just have to manage yourself. It also helps you anyway to expand your own knowledge base. Set clear expectation and performance standards. They provide continuous balanced feedback. They coach employee for development and growth. A manager should be able to do this. If your managers are not doing this, something is wrong, right? So, and one of the things, initiative, performance management and learning and development are intertwined. So one of the initiatives is that the learning and development person is also training managers on how to coach employees, how to ensure that there's development and growth, right? Conduct meaningful performance reviews, then recognize and reward achievement, right? These are the things that sit with the managers. In fact, when I was with FedEx, FedEx has a budget per manager. So each manager has a budget, and the manager can allocate based on performance. So for my department now, I can have a budget, let's say a budget of 500,000, 100,000, 1 million. So based on the number of people in my team. So as the manager, I can reward based on the budget given to me by the company. Look at the people on my team and just say, okay, this one scored 5, this one scored 3, this one scored 4, this one scored this. So I can share. So these are some of the things that should come from the managers. The manager should be able to make requests to the company based on this, aside what the company is doing at large, right? So now there's not the last part, the senior leadership, which sometimes is the management team, the MD, CEO, and all whatnot. Now, they are to champion the performance management process. Because if you don't lead from the front, then there'll be challenge. If the management team is not in support, and this is some of the challenge I've faced in some places I've worked, that has to do with not just one person being the leader, being the MD, where you have something like partnerships, where you have like 4 partners, where decision is not just made by one person. This is usually difficult because if as the leaders, we are not driving the process, we are not being involved in the process, then there will be challenge, right? So they are to set strategic direction for the organization. So where are we going? What do we want to achieve this year? It will be sad that there are organizations that, as at today, this is June 6, 2026, they don't even have any goal for the year. They've never had any retreat. They've never had any strategy meeting. They don't have plans. Now, that's already a setup for the HR person. But then there are ways we also go about doing that. Maybe I'll discuss about that later. How to manage if you are in a kind of place where there's no direction, no goals, no vision, nothing for the year. How do you do it and still have a fantastic time? I've had such experience a few times, and we still make something out of it. So maybe we can talk about that later if time permits. So ensure accountability throughout the organization, use performance data for strategic decisions, then support succession planning and talent mobility. This is the job of the senior leadership. So this is the roles and responsibilities within the entire frame of performance management system. So these things are what you must be teaching your management team, right? The employees, have a session with them on performance. In fact, for every company, at least a year or twice a year, there should be session where you just take on performance management. So where you talk to the employees on these areas that concern them, talk to the managers on the area that concerns them, and the leadership on the area that concerns them. Then you as HR, you are not dropping the ball. You are doing what you should be doing. You understand it. You are commanding action when it comes to your frameworks, when it comes to your architecture, and when it comes to designing of your performance management system at large. All right. Okay. I think I've said a lot. Please let me get our feedback. Any question, at this point? Let me get our feedback. Any question? Okay, great. I can see our day, Andrew. All right. Let me hear.
Hello, good morning, Minister Femi. Thank you
Morning.
so much for this session. I've been learning a lot. So I have a question, right? Yes,
Okay.
you have given us the roles and responsibility of each of these stakeholders,
Mhm.
but I've not seen where you say who is now to do the maybe the appraiser with the employee. Should it be the manager alone or the manager with the HR? That's what I want to know. Thank
Okay, so
you.
it's there for the managers. The managers conducts the performance reviews. So that's where you see conducts meaningful performance reviews. The manager and the employee, they do that. The HR is not necessary. Now, I had this kind of case recently where a leader, right, is saying that HR should come and sit down and be hearing during the performance appraisal conversation. And the question is, excuse me, you are an organization of about 80 employees, and HR is just maybe 2 in the team. So how many persons does HR want to sit down with? So the appraisal should happen between the manager and the employee. So they sit down. It's like a conversation now. But for those who use HRS, you see that most of HRS, they will have first where you as the employee, you appraise yourself. So once you appraise yourself, it goes to your line manager. Then the line manager appraises you. So what that also does is that there's a bit of comparison of how you feel. But then there's also the place where you can challenge whatever outcomes and all of that. But principally, the appraisal should happen between the manager and the employee, because HR cannot be everywhere. So what HR gets is the report and outcome that you analyze. You can't sit down and be sitting down with everybody. Now, there's also now some what they do calibration sessions where after the whole thing is done, maybe some people will call it review committee, some people will call it senior committee, performance review committee. They now come together, look at all of the outcomes, then begin to question the report. So that's a different ballgame entirely. But the real appraiser itself is the manager and the employee that should be doing it, right? Okay, just Paul. Check it. Yes, please.
Good morning, Mr. Femi. Good morning to everyone. Say thank you very much for this class. A lot of people have asked to pay, but you're doing this for free, and I really appreciate it. My question is, so how does HR ensure compliance and fairness across the department if the appraisal is done only by the manager and the employee?
Excellent. Excellent. So now that's where we talk about the framework that you use. So your framework will already address the issue of fairness. So we still get to, I'll talk about some of the components. So where you are, let me make an example. Now I designed something for, is it CW? Yeah, CW Communications. Now, if you said that I have agreed to a particular, let me still use the word KPI for now. After now, we may not use that word again. Let's say I've agreed to a KPI and my KPIs have been set. I agree to it, my manager already agrees to it, and it's documented. So when it is time for it, how you have designed that thing, which is where the framework is very important, will determine if there will be fairness or not. Now imagine if what we have said is, Mr. Paul, I want you to recruit 5 persons, January to December, right? And I ended up recruiting 4 persons. Now, there is no question to it. So the problem is usually, that's why I talked about measurement. The problem is usually from the place of measurement. That's where this whole thing can come in. Because HR cannot be, imagine you are working in an organization that has about 100 employees. How do you want to do it? You want to be sitting down in every conversation? No. Or even if you are using HRIS is online. You do everything on the system. So HR cannot be there. But what you have designed is what is going to tell you if your system is going to be very transparent. Because if what we have designed into it is what is clear to both parties. So I've said, okay, this is how we measure, let me use another metric. Let's say HR now, let's even use HR. Every employee in the organization must be appraised by December 2025. Then at the end of the day, we checked 80% were appraised. We don't have any issue. It's clear, the proof is there. The employee can see it, the manager can see it, and when HR is beginning to check the outcome, you will see the result, you will see the reports there. So fairness goes back to what framework are you adopting? What framework are you adopting? So we'll get there a bit and we'll be able to see that more. Now I say, please, can you clarify the difference between performance review and appraisal? Yes. So now performance review and appraisal, it can sometimes be used. It depends on the context the person is using it, right? Performance review can be appraisal in some context, but sometimes people use performance review to mean something lighter than appraisal. So let's say something like we're just checking up, right? So we just, let's say medias, like I've designed something for a company where we say media review. So media review meaning we don't go into the details of, okay, we are scoring you. What we are just doing is we are just having a conversation. It's not as rigorous as the appraiser itself. It does not come with the old using scores and all of it. We just want to review where are you, what have you done? Just like the same way we have sprint meetings and retrospect meeting for people who are familiar with tech firms. So you just want to check back again to say, hey, where are you? What are you on? You said we do this by end of the year. Where are you now? So some people use that to refer to review, exactly like progress reviews. Some people use that term for that. And appraisal for the proper now putting figures to it to say you score this, you score that. So some people use it, but some also in another context, review can be appraisal. So it just depends on the context you are adopting and whatever way you want to call it. So that's the distinction with that. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Paul.
So I'm sorry, I'm probably overflogging this.
Issues.
So I work for an organization that have over 750 employees.
Wow.
And the HR department is so thin for HR in the company. Now, during the last performance review, it was terrible. Because we have a lot of blue collar staff, and this review was done, the appraisal was done by the HODs. So a lot of feedback came back to us, and this feedback was like, no, the score I was given is not mine. And over 30% of the staff have rejected this. Now, in this scenario, how would HR go about this whole thing?
Interesting.
And it's
How many HR do you have? How many HR does that? 4. Imagine 4 to 750. So how do you even want to sit down in hall to hear? So now this already tells us that there's a challenge with how the system is designed. So the question is, for these blue collar guys, did you guys have session with them on what the expectations are? Was there a joint agreement with the managers on what the expectations are? So, and how are we going to measure the expectation? Were these things actually discussed prior to now? And your design in itself, does it tell us when somebody is doing what they should do? So if I come to you and challenge my results, I will come to you with proofs. So that's why in designing something like an OKR now, we usually have what we call source for OKR. So in OKR, you have your objectives, you have your key results, we have your source that now shows to us that, oh, this is what is the proof of what I have done or what I have not done. So it still always comes back to how did we define it? If you check, most of what we are measuring are actually qualitative rather. So they are not quantified. So it's easy to just say something like something that is emotional. I don't really have some of those examples in my head now. But if it's something that we are able to design it in a very quantitative way. So if you come to me and challenge that, I said you should do this 5 times and you did this 3 times. Okay, this is it now. So it takes away a lot of conflict when it comes to performance management. But then because it is humans, are we saying it should be 100% free of any? No, it would. We are humans. There will always be some little hiccups, but we can manage it to a greater level if our frameworks are right and if our what we call KPIs are written rightly. We will see how to write that shortly now. So you see that some of these issues are coming from what is written. Then was there agreement within these people? So if you have agreed to a certain thing, my manager, if you don't like me, my manager does not necessarily need to like me to appraise me in a certain way. You don't need to like me because it's just about Femi. You are told to do a performance appraisal. Make sure 100% of employees are appraised by so date. Okay. Make sure we have training calendar ready by so date. Okay. Make sure this and this. And there's a source that shows that this is it. So as I'm doing it, it's clear. So when my manager is not even happy with me, you cannot be unhappy with the fact that 100% of the employees were appraised, which is what my expectation is. So these things removes a lot of bias, and we're going to talk about the bias also if time will permit us, and we see some of these things. But like I said, because we are humans, you cannot remove 100% of issues, like that. It's still, but then it will be reduced to a large extent. So I have a question. Is there a difference between performance review framework and a weekly task tracker of employees? Yes, there's a difference. A task tracker is more like a tool helping you to just see that people are keeping up to work. But then that in itself is doing something to the review. So the review now comes up in the place of, we are now asking ourselves questions. That the task tracker will show us where you are, where you should be, what you are doing, and all of that. So the conversation that happens where we are now saying, okay, the tracker shows to us that you're supposed to have done X, Y, Z, but you have not. So that conversation is the review itself that we're now checking with, okay, what is going on? Why is it like this? What are the blockers? What can we do? How can we help? That's the review. So the tracker is like a tool for the review itself. So testimony, I don't know if that is clear. Yes, thank you so much, Damilola, for dropping that. It's a bit scary. 1.4 is a bit scary. So 750 employees, you need at least 13 HR professionals or more. The HRs, they are trying, and that's a lot. So you can expect there will be issues, right? Yeah. Olamide, yes, please. I see two hands. Sorry, Sylvia has his or her hand up first. I'm sorry.
Yes, Femi, thank you. So my question is, I want to clearly understand how the flow, how it flows. The senior leadership sets the goal. Can they set it without the managers? So if they set the goal, the managers break it down into expectations. I've seen in some cases whereby employees set their own KPI and sent to their manager to review. So, but what is the best flow for breaking down the goal to an employee, and who is supposed to do what at each particular point, or what is the best practice? Because I'm seeing a whole lot of things.
Okay. So now, just like what I just shared here, the senior leadership are the one who set the strategic direction for organization goals. So that means that is the senior leadership, in some cases, the MD, the C-level guys, right? They set that, okay, this is what we want to do for this year. This is our goal for this year. So in some cases, like I was with an organization 2 weeks ago, and what they're trying to do is, number one, to increase, for this year, we want to make so billion. And also, maybe this year we want to increase our coverage from Southwest to Northeast, right? So it's the senior leadership that does that. That's from the maybe MD and his team, right? So they set that. So once they set that, sometimes it can be like 4 or 3. So it can be, we want to increase our market share. We want to make revenue of so billion this year. And the third can be that we want to minimize cost, whatever, right? So that one is from the senior leadership, management, CEOs, whatever you want to call them, right? So now that direction, strategic direction for the year, or goal for the year, will now be brought to the managers. So the managers with the team, the managers will understand it. The managers will now convert it into, how does this affect my own delivery department? So from that vision, the HR manager looks at it and say, how can we help the business to profitability this year? Because our goal is profitability. So the manager now HR manager begins to look at it. Where does it affect me? Right? And in the strategy document, there will have been pillars that would have been discussed in the strategy document. In fact, there's something we call strategy map. Strategy map comes first. So there must be strategy map from your strategy map, which is gotten from your strategy document. So strategy map, you now begin to have whatever architecture you want to have for your performance. In fact, I can show us that, but I'm not sure time will permit. So that strategy map will now be something that we can all see that this is where the organization is going. So from there, the finance manager, the sales manager, the marketing manager, IT, everybody now begins to draw what they will do as a department in liaising with that strategic direction. So once the manager I'm sorry, let me go back. So the senior leadership are the ones who decide this year we want to make 1 billion, right? So the senior leadership has decided we want to make 1 billion this year. The managers, they will now call the managers. This is our direction for this year. We want to make 1 billion. So each person, each manager will now look at that goal of the business as a whole to now say, me as the HR manager, how does making this, now that 1 billion that the company wants to make, in what we call the strategy document, there are what we call pillars. They will have strategy pillars. That is, that 1 billion, on what ground do we want to make it? So you have things like visibility, you have things like increase, whatever, XYZ. So you can even have things like ensure that employees are happy, because if our employees are happy, they will do better, we'll increase our customer base and all of that. So you read that document, you now begin to pick the one that concerns you. HR picks, IT picks, the finance team picks, the marketing manager picks, the CFO, all of that. So they now begin to break it down into how their own department must deliver that thing. So when we look at all of it together, all of it is converting to that 1 billion we want to make. So from that, the manager now sits with their own team. So each team now also begin to look at, this is what we want to do as our department. Remember, that of the department is gotten from the global goal, the strategic direction of the business, right? From the senior leadership. So the manager now sits with the team to now say, if we're going to deliver this, let's say example, one of the ways we want to make 1 billion this year is that we want to increase our reach from southwest to, let's say, northeast, right? So HR, definitely HR already knows that. That means there's work of recruitment for us. And there's the work of learning and development, because you need to train people who will be there and all of that. So we're now beginning to look at it in our HR department. We're now breaking it also into bits and giving each person's their own, let me still use the word KPI for now, their own KPIs in that regard. So when they break that into the employee and the managers, they will sit down to do it. So now, if you are saying the employee just comes and develop their own KPI and give it to the manager, the challenge with that is the employee informed of what we want to do as an organization? Are they informed about the direction of the business? So the best and the global standard is that it trickles down from up down. Now there's also the down up actually that some organizations adopt. But even that down up, what they do is that the employees, they come together, they say, okay, this is what I want to do for this, this is what I want to do. They now begin to filter it in line with what the business also wants to do and have a meeting point. So that's where people say things like your goals also as a person matters. Now we did that when I was with FedEx, that you come up with your manager, you come up with what you think you can do, but there must be the global goal already in sight. So you can't just come up with something haphazardly and just say, this is what I just want to do this year. So there's a global goal in mind and you begin to do it. But the most interesting way, which is one of the ways OKR does, OKR, which is what I'll speak a bit on. OKR does from, the global goal to the managers break it to the employees now begin to digest it individually. Then once we are pursuing it, imagine all of us individually now meet that our goal. Automatically, we have met the organizational goal as a whole. So that's how it flows. Sylvia, is that exactly? All right, thank you. Olamide.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Femi. This session has been incredible. Okay, I want to understand where the HR comes in, because I heard earlier when you said it floats from the top level management to the middle level and then to the employees. So if the goal is being cascaded from the top level down to the middle level, now where does HR come in ensuring that what was cascaded to the middle level management is actually being done? I understand that the HR has his own function, to ensure that, okay, out of this goal that has been put in place for the year, this is what I'm contributing to ensure that the goal is achieved. So is there a place of HR ensuring that the goal that has been set departmentally is achieved? Because I still believe that that still sits within the jurisdiction of the HR. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Interesting. So now, if you look at it, what I said about human resources, the first thing I said is that HR designs and implements the performance framework. Now, that means that you are the one who already designed the template everybody will be using in the first place. So the performance framework means that how do we want to break these goals down? That's what performance framework does. How do we want to break these goals? What means are we going to use to measure these goals that we are breaking down? How are we going to be measuring it? How are we going to be following up and all of that? That's what the performance framework means. So that's your job as the HR, right? In all of it. So it means that the entire system is still on you. So, but then the place where you come in terms of how do we now make sure we are meeting our goals is in the system you also put in place, like somebody mentioned about the place of feedback or review rather, right? There's review. So you want to, for me, the last place I worked, one of the things I put in place is that there's a biannual review where we check again. So I'm following up on this. So for some organizations, they have dashboards. Especially for most tech firms now, you have dashboards where you're also monitoring. So some of the things people also now put in place now is monthly check-ins where we are checking. So your own job is the driver. The HR drives these things. That's why we say you ensure compliance and fairness and all of that. Ensure that stakeholders, they are trained on how to effectively use the system. So you as HR, you are not waiting till the end of the year to now do one review in order to say maybe we did well or we did well. No. So you are sitting on the fact that you designed the entire process. So you know what should be at each point. So when anybody is dropping the ball, one of the things you are doing is just to facilitate the process. Because in all fairness, HR cannot do certain things we think HR will do. So why most of us actually think HR will do certain things, because maybe we also view it in terms of employee size of maybe 10, 15. When you are working in large organization, you now begin to see that there are a lot of things that managers should be doing that we have automatically taught HR are the persons to be doing it. So HR is like a driver. You are like the person who makes sure that the system is moving. So you are checking each of the system components at each time. Are we doing this? So are we checking for reviews? Are we doing that? So that's really your job. So you are doing that to make sure that we don't wait till the end of the year. Now I'm going to show you the process, the components of performance management, and you're going to see how HR comes in more in that. So if we are dropping the ball, we will see it because we are having our consistent review. Yeah, like Olubukola said, meeting cadence. We are checking. So your job is to be driving people to check, to make sure they check. Your job is that you are not waiting till the end of the year to now do performance appraisal. You are now saying, and we didn't do this in February. No. So if you are ready, so for me now, currently, I'm designing a performance management system. And one of the things I'm putting in place is that there's a weekly check-in. Weekly. I'm telling you, weekly. There's a weekly check-in. There's now a monthly entire team check-in. So that means what I'm doing is I'm pushing the people to be checking. I don't understand some of the tech languages my guys speak. Sometimes they are saying things and I'm like, I'm trying to catch up. The APIs, the this and that. My job is to make sure they are doing that. My job is not to do it for them. So, but I am facilitating the process. I'm making sure you guys are meeting. We should meet this. Why are we not meeting this? All of that. So facilitation is where HR really comes in. And this is where your stakeholder relationship management skill come in. You have to be very strong in that, to really achieve that. But when we talk about the components now, you see more of that. Is that fine, Olamide?
Yes, it's fine. I have a question though, but let's just proceed. Or should I go ahead and ask?
Please. That's why we are here.
Okay, so for the technical expertise, take for instance, I work in a tech firm now.
Yeah.
I might not be able to design the framework for each of the departments. So I believe that would then fall with, like, it would be better if the line manager come up with the KPIs, yes.
Okay.
For their maybe their team members. So how do is it like once I design the framework, I relay it with the the line managers and they come up with the maybe appropriate KPIs to use, right? And then I follow up with them on that.
Interesting. So just like the question who asked the last question, now what you are designing is the framework. KPI is not a framework. KPI is just one of the tools. It's a measurement tool, right? So now let's do a very simple one. So the framework I want to use is OKR. OKR means that we must have objective, then we have key result, right? So I have designed it. I've designed the template we will use. So let's say we don't even have HRS. So on an Excel sheet, I've designed objective, key results. I put the weightings and I put this is how we calculate it. This is how we know that somebody is doing well. I've decided on my measurement range that we're going to use a 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. I've decided on we're going to have behavioral and technical skill. I've done all of that. That's the framework that we want to use for this organization. Now, the part of everybody designing their what you call KPI now is in the manager's hand. You are not designing, you are not to be designing for everybody. Let me say that. Even though that happens for I've done that before, design for everybody, but it's not really the ideal professional stuff, right? So you just provide the framework. This is what we're using. You've trained them on this is how it will go. So everybody knows this is what I'll plug here, this is what I'll plug here. Everybody understand how to write their key results, right? So they are the ones, whether technical or not even technical, everybody should be involved in designing their own. The manager with their team designs everybody's expectations. So they plug it into the framework you have given. So you will see it in the framework. Now, in the framework, you don't need to understand API or anything. You will understand the measure that has been written. So design so flow 5 per day, something. So you will understand that. You don't need to understand the nitty-gritty of the work, but you understand that's why I said how it is written matters. So which is one of the trainings we do for people. How do you write your key results? How do you write what you call your KPI and all of that? So all of that is not in your hands. It's in the hand of the managers to come up with theirs. You will train them on how to do it. Then when you see it in the dashboard, so you will know now, if they are saying that I must have developed 5 apps in this. Now my API error, downtime time, and all of this error, this in my thing should be less than 5. So you don't need to know how they go about the whole error thing, how they go about their API thing, how they go about all of that. What you know is that the measures that has been set and how it is being met, and what is the source to see that this is what we have said we do it. So, but then I know the reality of many organizations, HR still get to be heavily involved in some of these things, which is good for your own knowledge, but it should not be it can get you a lot of headache if you now get to a bigger organization, right? Exactly, Olamide. All right. There was a question. Is KPI reviewed every year as the target of the organization changes? Yes, it should. It should be an annual thing. It should not be a constant. It should not be the same thing every year. It's wrong. So that means the organization does not have any direction. They don't have targets. They don't have, aspirations. An organization that made 10 million this year should be aspiring to make 20 million next year. And to make 20 million, it means we must do something different. So everybody's KPI has to be reviewed to make sure it is targeting that 20 million we know how to make this year. So that's the proper thing. But what we've seen is that people just use job description, create KPIs from it, and every year that's the same thing they measure, which I've also been in places like that. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you just want to advise that these things should be done the way it should be done. All right. Okay, great. So let's move now. What factors help you determine the framework to use? Size of the organization, nature of the business, and sometimes the stage of the business, the year of the business. So size of the organization, organizations that have a smaller size, maybe 10 employees, 15, 20, I don't think you should be doing something on balance scorecard. Balance scorecard is really heavy. So the nature of the business also, if you are in a business that is more agile, there's nothing you should be doing with balance scorecard. Businesses that are more, that they do repetitive stuff a lot, like banks, like this, yes, they do well to stay with balance scorecard because what they do doesn't change a lot, right? But if you're also looking at a business that is a startup, doing a balance scorecard may be an overkill, right? So these are some of the things that you consider before you decide the framework you want to use for an organization. All right. Okay, great. Can we move ahead now? Are we good up to this point? Let me get feedback from everybody. Are we good up to this point? Yeah, great. All right, so let's move. It's 12:02 already. Imagine. But I'm sure we are learning, and that's the most important thing. I'll just jump some things so that I can really go far a bit. I think I've talked a bit around this. Let me leave this. Let me leave this also. Let me just share this a bit. So I want to make sure we get to some of the meat. So the benefit of effective performance management system, you will see that some of us have mentioned some of the challenges we face, right? So for the organization, it helps the organization have better execution. You see, strategy will translate into action. So what it means is that we have a strategy, and that strategy, we are translating it into everybody's everyday action. Now, there's something we call line of sight. Line of sight is a conversation to under performance management and business performance management, kind of. So line of sight is that you are able to make everybody see how their daily responsibility and what they do daily, how does it connect to our company making the revenue we make this year? How does it connect to our company becoming the best best employer of the year? How does it connect to our company becoming a sought-after organization? So line of sight means that everybody in the business, including the cleaner, can actually see that what I'm doing is so important that if I don't do it, we can lose 10 million. So if our target for the year is to make 100 million, we could make 90 million because I slacked on my duty as the cleaner. So there's a line of sight. There's a way you draw the line of sight. So this is what performance management does to us. It helps us see. So how strategy translates into action, right? It improves productivity because there's clear goals that drives our output, right? Then you can identify future leaders. It helps your succession planning. It also keeps top performers engaged. It helps you to retain your talent. Now, if people are not being well rewarded, if there's no clear direction and all of that for what we are doing, people will eventually be leaving our organization, right? Now, I remember I was with one business then, and the MD can just decide when somebody performs well. I remember that year, iPhone was still a thing. It's even still a thing. I think people are still all excited by iPhone. Someone was, I know iPhone, Samsung every day over iPhone. So the MD came and it came from UK and he brought iPhone maybe 14. Then there's no, like, what is the justification for doing that? Now, yes, this person is performing well. There were other people performing well. You just brought iPhone 14 for one person. And so the question is, there are other people, even though this person is like the best top performer, but if there's no system, if there's no proper way to, reward different persons, if you got the top performer iPhone 14, at least those of us that are remaining, even if it's iPhone 11, you got me, I'll still be happy that at least 14, 12, 13, 12, 11, like that. So it's when there's no performance management system in place, we have that issues, right? Now, for the employees, it helps you have clarity. You know what is expected of you. For me, this is one of the things that anybody that works under me, it's my priority that you are clear on what I want you to do. And this is what I also expect of people who have been my managers. Like my current MD, one of the questions when I was about getting the job was around what does he want? He was asking me what he wants what he wants of me, right? What he wants of him, rather, what I want him to do. And I said, simple. Let's know what we want to do per time. Be clear. Like, I've seen senior people who always assume that you must just know what is on their head. I've worked with somebody like that. They just assume that, don't you know what I'm thinking? I don't know what you're thinking. I'm not a witch. I don't have that ability. So that causes a lot of problem where we don't have defined direction for people, right? Then growth, it helps people to have clear development path when there's a performance management system in place. People feel valued and heard. Imagine I did this and the policy already told me what to do. If I do this, I get iPhone 15. If I do this, I'll get iPhone 17. It makes me feel valued and heard. Unlike when everybody's just working and there's nothing, so recognition. So these are some of the things that performance management system does for the employees, right? So let's run now to, so this is the meat of it, the component. So now, if you want to now start a performance management system from scratch, like you are called on, Femi, come and design a performance management system for us. These are the essential major components you must look out for and must drive that thing you are building. If you know this from all of our conversations now to this point, those things are guiding principles. This is going to help you. So I may not be able to finish all today, but one thing is sure. If I'm able to get to 6, we are very fine, because I've talked a bit about 7, 8, 9 already in course of my conversations, right? So the first thing you will do if you are called now to say, oh, Miss Olamide Alade, we need you to design a performance management system for Olufemi and Ibitoye company. Okay, so the first thing you'll be doing after you must have done, you want to ask where they are, what they're doing, is to ask first, there must be a performance management policy. That's the first thing, right? So a performance management policy. The second thing, okay, let me do it this way. Let's just run with this slide. I think I explained for that so that we'll be taking it one by one. So the first thing is the performance management policy. You cannot run a performance management system successfully without starting with the foundation, which is having a performance management policy. People don't just have that and they just think that they can just think this year is good. So this year, let's give every employee 10%. I see people who just want to do bonus and they just decide, they just sit down in a board meeting and just give this ones this amount, give this ones 300,000, give this one 500,000. Because there's no performance management system in place. So that's a very wrong way to go about it. So the first thing you want to have is a performance management policy. a formal document defining how performance will be managed within that organization. So once you first clear that, so because the performance management policy is what will provide the governance framework, it's going to provide consistency, it's going to set clear expectation, and it's going to create accountability. So it means that somebody cannot just come tomorrow and say, because I like Sylvia more than Olatubosun, let's give Sylvia this. No, because there's something the policy already says about how we manage our performance. Everything that we should think about when it comes to performance management is already clearly written in the policy. So this is the first place to start. And to just help us with that, I think I highlighted some things that should be in this. Yeah. Bonuses are paid on bias when PM is missing. Absolutely. So this is one of the things that you must first deal with. And what are the components of a performance management policy? The things you should be looking out for when you are trying to design your performance management policy. Let's say, so what I'm doing now is I'm making all of us consultants like myself. So you have been consulted now. You're starting with your performance management policy. So I've explained that the policy is what tells us everything about how we would achieve or do our performance management. So any question anybody have on performance management, if somebody joins your organization today, they should be able to understand. Do you know this is one of the things that makes most organizations like these big fours, that makes them really exciting place to work? There's a lot of pressure in those places in terms of workload and everything, but their performance management system is top notch. How? When you get in, you can get in as an intern or as a junior associate. You already know the clear path that if I perform and score this consistently, I can grow like this, and become a partner in 14 years. It's clear. The path is clear. So it makes working exciting because there's something you are looking forward to. If there's no policy, these things will be difficult. So all of these challenges we're even having with performance, this one is angry, this one is angry. Sometimes it goes back to most of us don't really have a solid policy. Some don't have at all. Some just have it haphazardly, not clear, right? So these are some of the components of a performance management policy, the things that you must have in that policy. The first is the purpose of the policy. We are looking at the scope of the policy. We're looking at defining terms, guiding rules. Roles are responsibilities. Just like I shared this slide on this, who is going to do what? Who is going to own what? So it's already clear in the policy. So at the point where you are hiring, you're already discussing some of these policies with the people involved. So you're hiring somebody to become a manager. He's coming from a place where he's a child that will do everything. But you guys are already clear in your policy to let you know, Oga, yeah, you will sit down, brainstorm on our direction for the year, and you will come up with your KPIs with your team. So it's already clear in the policy. As the person is resuming with you in your onboarding stage, one of the things you're already discussing is, what is your role in performance management? What's your responsibility in performance management? Right? As the employee, you already make it clear. You already let them know that in our own, if you don't perform, if you are scoring a 3 twice in the performance cycle, it will be to exit the organization. So when somebody is scoring a 2 and twice, and the person there's no emotions, the person can't go online and write anything about you. Why? It was already clear from beginning. Because what happens is that sometimes some people have good character, but they are not competent. No, don't let me use that. That's incorrect, because competency also have character inside of it. Some people have good character, but they don't have skill and knowledge. But some people, they have skill and they don't have character. So this thing will get you into trouble, because there's somebody you want to keep, because this person just is a people person. He loves people, but he's not performing well in terms of what they should be doing on their job. So you always run into trouble of emotions. But if the policy has already stated the responsibility roles, what is expected of everybody, you know that if you are scoring 2 twice, he is advised to resign. So everybody is clear, everybody is fine, no issues. Right? The goal setting process must have been stated there. Just like the question Olamide was asking about who does what. Is it the manager that will be setting the KPIs doing this? It's already stated in your policy. Those that saves you a lot of headache and a lot of issues. So once you can get that out, your performance management policy solidly done, you see that it solves a lot of your problems. Now it will now remain the place of, let us make sure we live by the principles, by the policy, right? Performance review process, it will be there. How do we do review? Is it twice a year? You know that too much. Is it twice a year, right? So some people do biannual reviews, biannual appraisal. Some people do review. Remember, we have defined our terms in terms of review and appraisals. So for the sake of this, our conversation here, right? So people can do media review, then the appraisal. Some people do the appraisal twice a year. In fact, some people do quarterly. So that will be clear already in the performance policy. You're already seeing that, okay, this is how this organization does this. Every 3 months, they will have to do a performance appraisal. It's clear. The appraisal method is clear. Are we using OKR? Are we using balance scorecard? It's clear. Are we going to be going by 360 degree? 360 degree means that your manager will appraise you, your peers will appraise you. In fact, a client can appraise you, and you yourself, you appraise yourself. Are we going by that? Are we going by just manager and myself appraising me? Are we going by just my manager appraising me? All of this is already clear and agreed to in your policy. The rating scale. This is very, very important. The rating scale. Now, do you know if you use a rating scale 1 to 3, it's different from when you use a rating scale 1 to 5. The scale can affect your entire outcome. How strict you want to be can be a function of your scale. Now, when I tried a 1 to 3, I discovered that more people are at the lower band. When I do a 1 to 5, more people are at the higher band. So you have to think through these things. What scale do I want to use? Right? What's Mr. Paul, I beg. So what scale are we going to use? And all of that. You are going to decide the scale. Now, I had a challenge with a client, insurance company I trained recently. I was training both their management team. Their management team consists about, if not about 20 to 25, senior guys, CTO, CEOs, executive directors, and a fight, in quote, came up in course of the training about something around weighting and rating. So the challenge was that if you are designing your performance process, there's what we call the corporate goal. Now, the management team usually share whatever the outcome of the corporate goal will be. Let me break it down to very simple stuff. So I have a company now. It's a pure water factory. No, let me pure water. Let me be too a bit. It's a bottled water factory, right? Bottled water factory. It's a bottled water factory. And this bottled water factory, my goal for this year is that we want to make 100 million, right? So that's at the corporate level. We'll now be breaking it into different teams and all of that. Now, those who are my management team, they must be, because they are managers, right? They are part of my management team. And one of the reasons why we are paying managers is that you are going to be bearing the burden of the corporate goal. Now, somebody who is an officer may not care if at the end of the day, we don't make 100 million. But you are the manager. Even though you are HR manager, you must be interested in how do we also make 100 million? Beyond, are we recruiting well? Are we doing appraisal well? And all of that. So there's a portion of that corporate goal that you'll be appraised on. So if we make 100 million in the year, there's a percentage of it that will be affecting your score. So even though you do all your HR stuff well and score 100, if we don't meet our corporate goal, it will affect what you will score. So there was now a conversation around how do we do this in order to make sure, but that there are people that their own job is marketing, and marketing people are directly involved in making that 100 million. But me, I'm not in marketing, I'm HR manager. So why will you be using the same percentage to measure the two of us at that corporate goal? Because I'm not actively involved in making that 100 million. I'm not the one going to the market. My job does not go to the market. So those are things that you must think through in your rating scale and weighting measurement. So all of these things must have been discussed in your policy, that it's clear, everybody can see it. Then the reward linkage. There must be a reward linkage. There must be, if you score a 5, what happens? If you score a 4, what happens? If you score a 3, what happens? A 2 and 1, what happens? So as much as we have good reward, we must also have the negative part. So for those who are scoring a 3, which is sometimes meet expectation in most places, you can say things like meet expectation. If you meet expectation, you are going to get maybe let's say 1 month delivery of Cocoa Pops for you and your kids, right? If you score a 4, you are going to get your DSTV subscribed. If you get a 5, we are going to send you to Dubai for. So all of those things, they will not be afterthoughts. They will not be something like after everything you now look at, what does Femi like? Oh, let's give Femi this. No, they must have been documented, right? So you must link it to your reward. There must be a reward linkage inside of your performance policy, right? Then performance improvement is also very important. So what is the process to improve performance if somebody does not do well? If somebody does not do well, what are we going to do? So like some people, people are familiar with PIP and all of that. So PIP, performance improvement plan. So if somebody is not doing well, our policy will already state it. Now, one of the things you must be careful with is that you are working in tandem with the labor law. The labor law says you cannot just let anybody go on the reason of performance without giving them, you have tried that. Okay. So if somebody is not performing well, it's got a 3 the first time or a 2 the first time. So what are we going to do if you score a 2 the first time? So the second time, what are we going to do? And all of that. So how do we ensure that performance improves? Then there's appeal process. Like I think it was Mr. John who was mentioning the other time about a company that has Paul rather, that mentioned about people arguing about their results. So there must be appeal process. I'm not happy with the outcome of this appraisal. How do I appeal? Who do I speak to? Who do I send a message to? It must be clear. So it's not a thing of this one came to me, I gave him attention. This one comes to me and I'm not happy with him. No. It must be clear. What's our appeal process? How do we go about it when somebody is not happy with their outcomes? Then how do we document our performance? Then governance structure. Governance structure talking about who is handling what, like we had said earlier. Beyond roles and responsibility, who is going to, now you are now saying that we are linking reward to performance. So who approves what? How do we get that out? So all of that. So these are some of the things that must be in your performance policy. And this is where you start from. See, if you design this alone for a client and this is thoroughly done, I'm telling you, you can be paid. Let me tell you. This is serious work on its own, that if you can design this for a client, proper stuff, and you deliver this for them, you have actually, that's consulting. So, and you do this based on information, right? It's not just that you just go, what you do is you just do Google, ChatGPT. No, that can help information, but this has to be based on certain organization. Mr. Olani, I will not tell you. This has to be based on certain organization. Organizations are different. You can't go to a bank now and you are saying that you want to do certain things, that you want to be doing quarterly this, you want to be doing that. So you need to understand the firm you are trying to work with, the people you are recommending it for. So one of the things I will encourage is that you can just go and try this out. For those of us who are even fresh, just sit down, try to play around something like this, right? Play around it, just create something. You can even do it for a church, religious organization. Just play around it, just to put these things into practice. All right. So let me know if there's any question before I move to the next one, which is goal setting. Any question before I move to the next one? Or just feedback, anything before I move to the next one? Please, will the recording be available to everyone after the session? The recording. 1,000 per minute. Don't worry, I'll make it available. I'll send it to everybody who registered. Yeah. Okay. Any question, comment before I move on? Please, can you talk more on the governance structure? Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Let me take everything once.
Can this hand is up?
Okay, please. So I'll take it all together. You can unmute. The slide be available. My slide is very precious to me. Okay, whose hand is up? Okay, can I tell on approve process? Okay, let me take them one after the other now. Okay, just a minute. So let me start with, so for the governance structure, it's more like, it's very close to the role and responsibility, right? But then the role and responsibility just speaks to the employees, like the ones I've shared earlier. But the governance structure talks more about decision-making authority. So now, after you have done your KPIs, as we call it, who approves, right? Who's going to handle disputes? Who is going to, decide on promotion or bonuses? That's why I see some organization, they will say things like, they want to stay safe. They will not say at the discretion of the management. They will not put some of these things in clear terms. They just say we pay bonus at the discretion of the management. So who finalizes ratings, You know, all of those things so governance structure is saying that those who have authority to even change the entire system. So that's what your governance structure would help you clear out, right? Okay. I'm seeing another question. Can you talk on appeal process? Okay, good. So for appeal process, you can have something around, depending on the size of the organization, right? So most times it's usually first, HR is the contact point, right? So you can have something to say. So once you have issues with your manager on this, so first raise a case to the HR department with your proof, right? So I had my appraisal, my manager scores me. Now let me say this because of this appeal process. Someone asked, you know, sometimes employees think that, how many of us do self-appraisal? You know, we say we do self-appraisal, then your manager will appraise you. Most people think that how they finally arrive at the final answer is that they will match the two together. No, self-appraisal is actually a checking system. Self-appraisal is just to check. It's one of the ways HR also investigates when when there's a dispute, right? So imagine I scored myself a 5/5, and my manager now scored me a 2/5. So that means there's a very large disparity. So it helps HR to look into it. So it's not necessarily for that they will now combine the two. It's not what will make you outcome. So all those self-appraisal you are doing is just your stuff, right? So it helps the appeal process because we'll now check to ask questions. What are the proofs? So you send a message to the HR department with your proof. So the HR department then goes ahead to, you know, get the manager involved, question the manager on why this and the proof and all of that. Then there's some organization institute committee. So to make it fair, right, have a committee, and the committee members to be people outside of your department, blah, blah, blah. So you have like maybe 3 persons outside of your department and all of this. So they come together, look at the proof you have dropped, then invite both parties to say, okay, can you make a case? So different system can work for different organizations depending on the size of the organization. If it's a smaller organization, you may not be able to afford having committee members and all of that. So you can just maybe leave it within the HR team to say HR team, then looks at the proof, speak with the manager. Oh, maybe there was an error. Then if you want to, you know, rescore the person and all of that. So you can design the appeal process based on, you look at the organization to actually design that. How can one support a startup? Now, I've answered 2 persons. Let me show they are good with that. Oladayo, good. Jessica, good. Let me know if we're good. How can one, okay, great, Jessica, I see you. How can one support a startup in designing a performance system when do they even have a strategy? Interesting. So now, it's not true that they don't have a strategy, a startup. I'm telling you. Now, so one of the things I do when I'm in that kind of position is I first sit down to engage the central person, maybe the MD. So I will ask questions that will pop up the direction. So they have it, but they don't just have it documented, or they don't have it like the Jim strategy documents, like some organization we have 10 pages, 11 pages. So what you just do first is that sit down with the person, with the MD, and just ask basic questions around what are the things you are looking to do this year? What are the top 3 priorities? What are the things that at the end of this year you would have said, yes, you are happy, you have done this? He will mention number 1, he will mention money. He will tell you, last year we made this, we want to make this, okay. And there's this market, I'm hoping with this. Currently our client is like 15. I'm hoping we can increase to 30 clients. So you document all of that, right? You begin to write them down. So you have like 3 clear directions from him. Then you ask questions around, what are then the things you think you can do to achieve this? He has those things somewhere, it's just that they are not documented. So when you put that together, you now begin to, you know, start to work along that with the other persons. So these are some of the things I've done with managers who really, or MDs who really didn't have any, they were just here and there. Some MDs are just, they are more operational. They are not strategic, right? They want to just get things done. They are not really interested in all your buzzword, strategy map, architecture. They are not so interested, but they know this thing. They know what they want to do. So just casual conversation, you know, you just chat with them and you'll be able to get it. Yeah. So is that good? Sylvia, is that fine, clear? All right, great. I think training orientation on PMS should also be included in the policy. This is for subordinates and subordinates. Absolutely. Yeah, it should. I'll update my, thank you, Luashe. I'll update my content. Maybe it can be somewhere around, let me see. Yeah. Well, we have performance. Yeah, it should be. Training is very important. Thank you very much. So it should be, because it should even be maybe twice in a year. It should be something we do often, you know. All right, so are we good? Can we move forward? I'm looking at my time. It's almost 12:30. Can we move forward? Oh, sorry, I saw Olufunke's hand is up. I'm sorry. Right.
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon. I don't know if I'm audible. Thank you
Yes.
so much. I'm learning a lot. Thank you. So my question is on okay, so now I've experienced a situation where someone tells me a team they meet up with their objective for the quarter, and they attribute their failure to another team, stating that they didn't meet up because that team did not meet up with their objective, which is definitely affecting them. So it was a bit of a challenge because we're trying to see where the problem actually lies now. So in that situation, how do you resolve?
Interesting. We have this situation every time, right? This was one of the things that I was dealing with one of the tech firm I actually worked with. And so the thing is, you must make people understand that performance management, just like we said, it's system. For those of us who did a bit of academic stuff, there's something we call systems theory. Now, it's a system. System means that whether you like it or not, there will be dependencies. Now, that is where weighting comes in. So one of the things you do when you are designing your key results under your framework that you are using is that there are some key results that are dependent on another department. It will always happen. Why? Because we are a system trying to work towards the same thing. So there'll be something that is from me, that'll be waiting for the approval of finance, that from finance is waiting for the approval of the MD. If there are no intertwined dependencies like that, then we are not an organization. So first, that must be clear. So we would have shared dependency issues. We have shared responsibilities and all of that. So, but how do we manage it is in the place of the weighting. So now let's say Femi works as the HR manager. Olufunke is the finance manager. If Femi wants to get employees and Olufunke is supposed to approve maybe a budget, and the budget is delayed from Olufunke as a finance person, and it's because Olufunke is also waiting on the MD to give her the final approval. So these things, there'll be links. So what happens is that when we have key results or KPIs, as the case may be, that have dependencies, it will affect the weighting. Now, I see somebody's already asking about grading principle, so I'll enter into it. The weighting. Now, weighting is that we weight each objective that we want to achieve. So now, let me do an example. The first objective for me this year is to ensure that we recruit as and when due, right? That's just a very silly objective, but just for the case of this class, right? That's my objective. So my objective will now have key results that are measurable. Now, if some of those key results have something in it that is heavily, okay, good, the one they use for HR very well, attrition rate. Is it only HR that determines attrition rate? In fact, managers make people leave. Managers will be treating people anyhow, and they will say HR attrition rate. I've questioned that thing very well. I don't allow anybody put it in my don't put it in my key result. Like, but then it still falls with us a bit, right? But then, so you know that because it's not fully it's not just a fully sole something that is just dependent on me. If I tell the business that if you don't increase salary, people will resign, and people start to resign. So what am I going to do in that case? So you see that. So if there are key results like that have dependencies, my weight, the weighting of that particular key result will be lower to others. So if others, I'm having 10, on that one that has dependencies, it has to be lower than others. So to give allowance for the fact that it's not only me. So it means that if I'm supposed to score 80%, right, I could score 75% just because of that one, which may happen and may not happen and will not totally be my fault or may be my fault. So your weighting must reflect how you weight each of the key results, must reflect in how important are they, And number two, how much dependency do you share, right? So when there are dependencies like that, let people know that they'll be waiting. The other person too will have it in his key result, but the weighting also will be balanced. It will not carry a high weighting that can significantly impact your outcome. It must impact your outcome, but it should not impact it significantly because it has dependencies. So that's what I'm just trying to say. Olufunke, I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, that is clear.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
when we explain
But I guess that in the course of the training, we'll touch on the weighting as well. So how does weighting relate to, outcome? Thank you.
I'm looking at my time, but okay, let's see how far we can shoot. Yeah. Managers are the ones that causes attrition, not teacher. Mr. Paul, vexed. People actually work for their line managers, and to the earliest day, they decide if the staff is still leave. Actually, but then HR always takes the fall. Anything that happens like this is HR. Good. Thank God, I'm not HR. I'm people and culture manager. All right. So this is the framework that we can use. So remember, like somebody gladly help us with. We can also add performance management training as one of the components in our policy. All right. So the next thing under our policy, I said goal setting. So I will not take so much time on this because I've actually talked a bit on it already. So the first thing you have done, which is already a solid work, you already have your performance management policy. That thing alone is a solid one you already have. So once that has been done and signed by the management, you have your tool to work. So every other thing that will now be happening is now the operational part of that policy. How do we now begin to bring this policy to life? So the next thing you must now initiate is that there must be a goal and expectation setting session. Goal and expectation setting session. So no organization can manage performance without defining expectations, right? So why this matters, it provides the foundation for all performance management activities. It also makes us to have clear expectation, eliminate ambiguity, and drive focused effort. And without defined goals, performance management becomes subjective. So we must define the goal. I see people doing appraisal, and there was never any time we came together to say, this is what you want to do. We just say things like, and you did well this year. You did well this year. 6 over 10. And the question is, what is this based on? What exactly is the... Please, can you mute? Let me see if I can mute her from here.
How much? How much? 700.
Okay, good. All right. So there must be goal setting. So the first thing after your solid work on your policy is that you must initiate that session on goal setting. And what that session is about is that you are bringing the MD to share about the direction of the year. The managers are also now coming to cascade it, just like we shared earlier. The management team tells us what's the direction for the year, what is the thing we want to do for the year. Then we begin to bring it down till it gets to the employees. So every employee is clear on what is expected of them within the year. So that's a very, very important part of goal setting. Now, I don't want to go through this. This is more like a cliche. Now, I don't even really like this thing. Every time people say smart goals, but that is very important. Remind me. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound, all of that. So now, this is how it works, the cascading process, right? From the corporate, and I've explained this, right, to the department. From the department, some organizations have teams within the department. So in the HR department, we have people who are performance management team, HR team, recruitment team, and all of that. So for those who have that, you break it to the team, then from the team to the individuals. And those who don't have teams, which is just corporate department and individual. So it must flow like that. That's how you cascade it. I should extend the time. I'm sure nobody's in support of that, your motion. I'm sure. Corporate, department, team, and individual. So we must be able to break down our goals that way. We must break it down.
Somebody has supported.
Damilola is not in support, and I'm with Damilola. Corporate department, corporate department, team, and individual. So that's how it flows, right? It must go from that. That's how you break down your goals. So when you break the goals that way, it brings clarity, right? Now to the frameworks, under your goal setting part is where you now begin to talk about the framework you want to use. So what framework is helping us? Your framework can help you set the goals. Your framework can help you manage the process. I just highlighted 2 here, OKRs and balanced scorecard. And this may be where maybe we'll draw the curtain. Now, these two are, I mentioned these two because they are the most popular. And if you understand these frameworks very well, I'm telling you, you can do anything with any company. Right? Ayotunde? Ayotunde, your hand is up. Okay, is that a mistake? Okay, I think I should continue.
It's not a mistake. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So you were talking about the framework. You talked about OKR and balanced scorecard. So there's this other one I discovered, OCA. I think organizational capacity, something like that.
Interesting.
So I want to understand where this one is being used.
Okay. Interestingly, I've not really used that before, and I'm going to do a bit of research on that after now. So
okay.
Yeah,
so organizational capacity. I've forgotten the last word, but just
I will do a research on it definitely. I'll do research. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So this is quite really popular, the OKRs and balanced scorecard. Now, balanced scorecard is not just a performance management framework. Balanced scorecard is a strategy tool. It's used for strategy. So we borrowed it from the guys who use strategy into performance, because one of the things that led to this is that most people who are only in the front, client facing, were the only ones who were always seen as, they are the good guys, doing well. You know, a marketing person can come and say, wow, I've been able to acquire this so number of customers. But you are the what you call now, back office guy, accountant, HR, admin, you are seen like you are not doing anything. So balanced scorecard try to now bring everything together to say, hey, it's not just only finance that people should really focus on and all of that. But let me just do a bit on OKR, and we'll see. Let me explain OKR for us. So OKR is objectives and key results. And this is one of the, how does department differ from team? Okay, yes, so teams, there are organizations that are large. So like when I was with FedEx, I was in people operations, and we have performance management separate. In fact, I don't even know those that are there. Like performance management team, is a whole team on its own with a lot of employees there. So we have those who are in recruitment. There's a lot of people there. So there's the HR department as a whole. So because the number of people in each of these teams are also large, so they use teams to define them. So I can be in HR and I will not even know you, because I am in performance management. You are in maybe any other team, right? Yeah. So, but the thing is, those most times is our team leads that meet with the HR manager, right? So that's the way the report works. The team leads meet with the HR manager. So there was a time I was the learning and development lead now for Decagon. I had people working with me as the learning and development lead. I had people working in employee experience and all of that. So the leads are the ones who now meet with the HR manager. The HR manager meets with the body of managers and all of that. So, but it's mostly in organizations that are very large. So that's the difference between the department and team. But even some organizations use the word team also for department. But the difference is just that in some departments, you still have teams that have, so you have team leads, you have members of the team, having like 8 persons on one team, and the team is still reporting to the manager, and the department as a whole can have as large as 20 employees, 30 employees. So that's the difference, right? Okay, is it all? It is not effective payments when? Oh, okay. Responding to that what? Yes, thank you, PO. More like units. Yeah. So let's go to. So OKR as a framework is one of the most interesting framework recently. Why? Many organizations had to switch to OKR, from Google to Apple to all of these guys. In fact, the tech guys made it more popular. Why? Because it's more agile, it's easy to use. You can change when things are not working, right? Unlike a balanced scorecard, to come up with a balanced scorecard, you must be very good. Using a balanced scorecard comes with a lot of But I believe, and I always suggest that if you really have performance management as one of the places you know you want to pitch your tent, you should actually understand balance scorecard. Even if you are not going to use it directly for an issue, knowing balance scorecard, knowing how it works will help you a lot in the entire framework of performance management. So as much as a number of organizations don't even use it today, it's important you know it because it's one of your strategy too. You cannot understand strategy map without balance scorecard. And strategy map is very important when you are engaging CEOs, CTOs as a performance management professional. You know, so the understanding of that, how to do a strategy map, would really help you get their attention. They will take you serious. They will know that, oh, this guy knows what he's saying, right? So OKR, objectives and key results. What this is a goal setting framework. You use balance scorecard currently. Wow, you are a boss, so I should come and learn from you, Mr. Olanipepu. So a goal setting framework that connects company strategy to team individual execution through ambitious, measurable outcomes. Now, I'm going to use a very simple example to understand OKR. How OKR works is that you will have the objectives, right? Then you will now have the key results from the objective, right? So now, the key results, the objective and key results, not just from anywhere, from the global goal to the departmental goal, now forming individual objective and key results. So this is it. We have our global goal. This year, we want to make 100 million. That's the goal. So from that global goal and understanding of what we want to do as a global team, when I say global, I'm talking about corporate, the entire organization. So the corporate team, we want to make 100 million. That's our target, our goal for this year. So for your department, when you now break that into 2-3 objectives to now say, how does this translate to us in the finance department? So what are our objectives in order to make sure that we achieve this goal? So each of those objectives, you now break them into key results. So key results being that, now this is where key result is different from KPI. KPI is a measurement tool. KPI helps you to measure where you are. Key results tells you have gotten to where you are going. So, and writing key results is one of the challenges I've seen that people have. Most people still write KPIs. Why they think they are writing key results, right? So now let's say my objective is that I want to become a, you guys are going to understand this and I may draw the curtain here. Now let's say the objective is that I want to become a lawyer by the year 2035, right? That's my objective. I want to become a lawyer by the year 2035. Now, my key result would be something that when you read my key results, it tells you my objective. Without seeing my objective, when you see my key results, when I achieve my key results, you already know, you can easily say, this is his objective. Now, let's do the example. If my objective is to become a lawyer in the year 2035, let's assume that from now till then is 6 years, right? So what does this mean? It means that, now if I tell you this now, my key result, this is how key result works. Gain admission to study law by the end of the year 2026, number 1. Gain admission to study law by the year end 2026. Number 2, attend, finish at the university with at least a second class upper. Number 2, finish at the university with at least a second class upper by the year 20, God knows when. That's just assumption. Number 3, called to the Nigerian bar by the year 2029. Now, if these 3 things, if I come to tell you to say, oh, Olanipepu, I gained admission in the year 2026 December. I finished with a second class upper in the year 2028, and I was called to the Nigerian bar in the year 2029. Please, what is the conclusion of that? What will be the conclusion of that? What would you call me?
Yeah, I know, yeah, I know.
So that is the difference between OKR and key results. So OKRs are written in a way that it shows you where, it shows you it is output, it is outcome rather. OKRs are written using outcome languages. Please note that OKRs, key results rather, are written using outcome languages. but rather KPI is measuring output. A case in study, I don't know if it's on my slide. Let me see if I have that stuff. I don't have it here. Okay. A case in study is if you say train, okay, now let's use customer service. If I want to be sure, if I don't know those who work in banks here, we want to be sure about customer service, how our customers perceive us. You say things like, let us do a customer service, a customer survey, right? So if you do a customer survey, it is good. So your KPI will be measuring your customer survey score. But you see, OKR will not be, key result will not be focusing on customer survey score. We did a customer survey and our customer scored us 70%. That's measurement, it's telling you. But key result will be saying things like our net promoter score increased from 5 to 10. Now, for those who are not familiar with net promoter score is saying that how your customer tells another customer about you. So if our customer is telling another customer about us, please, what does that already tell us? It means that our customer service is great. So if our customer service is not great, our 5 of our customers will not be telling another 5 to come and do business with us. So key result focus is on the outcomes, not the output. Now you say something like HR. One of the KPIs we usually measure for HR is train 100 persons. That's a KPI language. It's not a key result language. Key results will be talking about if you train that 100 persons, what exactly is the outcome? What are we going to see? How does it affect the business? So key result is always looking at the end goal. It does not talk about the things, the inputs. It talks about the outputs. Let me know if I've not lost anybody here. Let me, because I know this is like now looking at the framework. Let me know if I've not lost anybody in the chat box, or you can even unmute. Are we together? Is it clear?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. So because this is like one of the simplest way I do explain key results before we now go into the nitty-gritty of writing it and doing all what. So when you understand key results like this, you will see that it's going to change the way you write what you call KPIs that your people will now be using and what you measure them with. Imagine instead of saying train 100 people, you are saying train 100 people on customer service skill. You are saying that we are having an increase in our net promoter score. If you train 100 people on customer service skill, what you are training them for, you can actually train them and they will come back and say we have been trained. But the question key result always ask is, what is the outcome of that training? Yes, I can see your hand, Olubukola Ayotunde.
Okay, hi. Well done so far. I'm actually driving, but I've been listening to what you've been saying.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just add to what you said like a few seconds ago, because I think this is foundation. So most people, I think application is what's critical to how they would, execute it eventually. So just to, Femi said, if you have objectives, think of it this way. You have the objective. The objective is the business objective, right? Think of it that way, okay? And that objective could be maybe 3. The business will not have so many, maybe just 3 objectives. And each of those objectives will then have their key results. Now, those key results could be maybe for every one objective, you have 3 key results. It shouldn't even be more than, I think it shouldn't be more than 5. Or
3 to 5 marks.
Yes, exactly, 3 to 5 marks, exactly. Then for each of the key results, you are then building KPIs out of that key result. Remember, it's actually top level, because it's the organizational objectives that you have now cascaded to the department. So it's from the department's KPI now that you're now having the individual KPIs. So that felt like, and let's just say that so that people don't get confused, because I remember when I was learning PM2, it was a struggle at some point, but that's how I understand it. Thank you.
Good. So now, where KPI comes in fact, in OKRs, right, there's what we call initiatives. Right. So OKRs you have the objective, you have your key results, you have your measures, then you have the objective, you have the initiatives. Now, initiatives will be speaking to this outcome that I want to achieve. How do I intend to achieve them? In fact, in OKRs, you may not necessarily go the route of even thinking about KPIs as it were. I wish I could show us. Okay, let me even show us. Let me look for it. I'm going to show us a table that shows like a proper, you will discover that you may not even think through, you not think about maybe KPI as it were. OKRs is OKR. OKR is actually sufficient in its own, right? What people will be measured on is not necessarily, let me just look for something and share. What's the name? CW. I'm going to show you what it looks like on when you now have it on like a worksheet. And now that works. Okay, let me do this. This is a sales associate. Let me share this tab. I hope the name of, let me remove this. Okay, share this tab. Okay, now if you can see my screen, now I'm going to even speak to the weighting part that somebody mentioned the other time. If you can see my screen now, you will see objective, you will see total weight of key results, right? Then you will see key results. Now, this is, let me edit this. This should be, okay. Anyway, that should be key result, not KPI weight, key result weight. Now, objective, look at this now. This is for a salesperson. The objective says personal sales performance, right? Now, total weight for this person in terms of their personal sales performance. So it means that the business came up with, oh, this year, every salesperson. So let's say we want to make 100 million. So for each salesperson, we're now giving them 10.8 million. So this particular sales associate is having 10.8 million as the revenue target, right? So in your key results, you are saying that achieve individual contribution towards 10.8 million revenue, right? Now, there's now a weight for each of these key results. The entire objective has this weight at 5%. But the key result, this objective, you break it into at least 3 key results. So these 3 key results now have their own weight as well. Now, that weight now have something called target. This target is what you want to achieve. Now, this, let me do, this is not correct. So then let me use that first one. Let's just use this second one. Now, improve personal conversion rate from 10% to 20%. That's the key result. Improve conversion rate from 10% to 20%. Now, the weight is 10. Now, this 20% becomes the target. This is where we want you to get to. That's what target is all about. There's now what we call initiatives. Your initiatives are the things you want to do in order to achieve that key result, right? Now, there's now what we call tracking source. Remember, I talked about tracking source. Like, how do we know you have done it? Now, this one does not even have the calculation part. Let me see if I have the one that has the calculation part, where you can easily calculate everything and see the result without stressing yourself. Good. I think this, oh, this also does not have. But then I can share that with us as just a template stuff if I'm able to. So this is just to show us that key results does not necessarily have anything to do with KPIs and all what have you. Key result is sufficient in itself as a framework to measure your performance, and it is always outstanding. Look at this key result. It says complete 95% of fiber projects within agreed timeline. So it's already clear. If I do 95%, I know. If I didn't do it, I know. Provide 100% required project status update on schedule. It is clear. If I do it, I know. I don't need any other thing. This is what I would be measured against. If you can have your key results written correctly, then you will not have problem with your measure, because it's already, everything has already been put in a way that is quantitative. You can quantify it. So that's the advantage of a key result to any other system, OKR, to any other framework that we may use. Now, if you are using a balance scorecard, you easily use KPI because of the way balance scorecard works. And that is, you can always read more on that, but at the basic level, your OKR is sufficient for your performance evaluations. From your OKRs, you are not necessarily needing any KPIs. It's where the OKRs itself serve as, if you want to call it in your own term, the KPIs that you are going to use. All right, let me stop sharing this and let me just get back and get our feedback. If there's any clarity so that I can share before we move. Okay, see, I think there's a question in the chat box. Let me look for it. Okay, just a minute. I want to go back to my slide. Okay, somebody said, how how do you quantify everything to analyze it? So it's actually in how we write our key results. How we quantify it is actually in how we write our key results. So how we write it is what gives us the direction. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, conversation, question, then analyzing it comes from the place of writing it correctly. So now let's say something around for HR, let's use one key result for HR. You are saying for HR that you want to recruit, you want to reduce the time gap of your recruitment. Maybe before it takes you 1 month to fill an open role, but now saying you want to reduce it to 2 weeks, right? So how you write it already tells us that it can be quantified and analyzed. So how you write it and how you write it determines quantification, and your quantification makes it what you can analyze. So it's really about designing how we write it, right? What is the limit to key result areas? KPI is max 10. For key results is max, to not make it having too much headache. Your objective max 3. Then for each of the objective, your key result should not be more than 3 to 5. When it's becoming more than that, you may run into trouble of 1, being able to align, and 2, too much for the person to do. So your key results max 3 to 5, your objectives 3, 4 max. Then each of these objectives a maximum of 3 to 5 key results, and your key result must be sound enough that is sufficient for you to do your analysis and your appraisals. Yeah, and I think I saw your hand up. I saw your hand up as we planned.
Yes, it was me. I wanted to ask if there will be a sequel, and if there will be a sequel, what they were looking at. That's 1. 2, I wanted to ask also for the advanced class if we'll be having it anytime soon, because I really need to dive deep into this OKR. Yes, I know how to use the BSc, but I want to know more about the OKR.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. So yes, trying to look at my calendar, but should have a sequel by the end of this month. That's been about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, thereabout. I'll confirm the date. I'll shoot a mail to you. You see that, and yeah, it's going to be a bit paid because highly subsidized, just to make sure that it's people who are really, really interested in taking further, not just, people can take. I wouldn't like my time to be wasted, sincerely, because it takes a lot to do all of this, but I really don't even mind, but just to get commitment from both sides. So I'll shoot a mail to us after now. By I think the last Saturday thereabout, I'm going to work out something. We'll look at the dates, then I'll get to us with a link where we can register and what the cost of that will be. Yeah. Thank you. So let me take any questions now as we plan to close. Any questions? I'll answer before we close. It's 1:01. Any question?
Yes, I have a question. I dropped it in the comments already. Okay, so could you please talk more on the relationship between the objectives and the key results?
Okay, interesting. Okay.
And also,
okay.
Sorry. And also, if I get what you're saying quite well, you're saying the objectives would come from the broad goal, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then those objectives must not be more than 3. It should be maximum of 3.
Well, that's for each person, 3, 4 max. Because when it's becoming so, now I'm going to show you something now. I'm trying to look for something. I will share. You're taking it to another, but then let me just share for the sake of, so that you have perfect clarity to that. Where's this guy? Let me just look for, I want to share something with you. Okay, there's this. So that you see how that works. Just a minute, it's coming up. Okay. Good. Now, let me show you. Okay, good. Now, look at this. So, objectives, right? Let me even look at the OKR. Yep. So now there's the company objective, right? Which is usually ambitious stuff, a direction of growth. Like, this is what we want to do, right? So from that company objective, which we call company goal, what we want to achieve for the year, we come up with either the team or the department objective. So that objective for each of the departments, we can now begin to break down into key results. So let's say XYZ, our objective for this year, we want to make 100 million, right? That's as a global corporate objective. So for the department, but under that corporate objective, there are usually things tied to it. So if we say we want to make 100 million, it's not just make 100 million. We'll now have what we call pillars. Those pillars are like, what are the things that will help us make 100 million? So they are usually like 4, 5, 3 marks of those pillars. So that we want to increase our clients, we want to increase maybe social partners, and we want to extend our reach to social region, right? So from all of those, right, you will now begin to have objective for each of the departments, how it concerns them, how it helps them to achieve that global goal. So finance, the objective of finance will never be the same with the objective of HR, because we are not delivering the same thing. So as it concerns increasing, making sure we make 100 million, the finance team will be looking at investment. The finance team will be looking at budget management. The finance team will be looking at how to cut cost, right? So, but for the HR team, our goal, our objectives will be around things around ensuring we have solid candidates, solid team members who can actually deliver on getting that. We'll be looking at recruitment. We'll be looking at how do we empower those who are inside to be able to deliver at. So everybody will be looking at that. So we have that objective for the department. So you can have about 3 objectives for the department. Now, each of those objectives, we now have key results. Like what you see now here, you see team objective, the key result, 1, 2, 3. Same thing. So you can have 2 objectives like this and 3 key results, max 5. So, but it can be more than 2, it can be more than 3 objective, but that objective must be relatable to the company. It cannot just be, what people do is, because we want to have 3 objectives, you just force objective, you shall force something into it. No, it has to be because it is relevant to what we want to do, and this is the direction we are going for this year. So once you have that objective that is relevant to what you want to do and how you from your department can deliver on that, you now begin to break it into key results. You now begin to break it. Now, let me see if I have, now look at this real example from Tesla. Now, it says the objective is to launch the most effective battery system for Tesla's new car model worldwide. Now, the key result number 1, sourcing 3 raw materials with a 30% better conduction rate. Key result number 2, developing a prototype with a 40% higher storage. So now this objective is what they are now breaking down into the key results. Now, this key results, those who are in charge of raw materials will now pick from this and begin to focus more on how do we do the raw materials, what are our own objective. Those who are in charge of battery system also will now begin to break it down until you will discover that we have broken the organization objective into so much pieces that it is seen easily how if all of us now come together, do all of these things, we have achieved the organizational goal. So that's why it can't be something that is so bogus, because you are only a unit in determining the larger goal, which is just 1, 2, or 3 things we want to achieve as an organization, right? So, and objectives are quite ambitious statements. Let me look at where I talked about what objectives. Now, objectives they are time-bound, inspirational goals. They are qualitative without metrics. They should move the company forward. Objectives are just, ambitious stuff you want to do. But the key results, they are specific, quantifiable, and they are achievable. So it leads to objective grading. So objectives are like time-bound things that, in 2026, we want to make 100 million. In 2026, we want to recruit 100 persons. In 2026, we want to make sure we have 10,000 customers. But key results are now specific. They quantify it, and they are things that they are the outcomes of what you want to achieve, right? So let me stop there. Please, Olamide, does that help a bit?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right, so I'm going to stop here. I've overshot my time. It's been an interesting conversation, actually. I think I enjoyed myself, and thanks for the engagement from particularly Olamide, Paul, Wige, MC. Who are those that are engaging me well? Olani Pekun, Damilola, thanks. Thanks for engaging. So please, one of the things we can always do is, follow me on LinkedIn. We can always ask questions. Let's just connect. It's my pleasure to share knowledge anytime. So I'm going to shoot a mail to us just in the next hour, so you can see if you're interested in, the next class. That's going to be a closed class and more subsidized. So let me just end with getting our feedbacks on any feedback now. Just give me your feedback as we end this. Feedback. Just tell me anything. Tell me something. You can use the chat. You can unmute. Just tell me this.
Hello.
Yeah, Olani.
Thank you so much for the training. I've really enjoyed myself. Though I'm not new, but there's no knowledge is lost. Just try to refresh my knowledge again. So, my own is, I would like to know how, like, you actually talk about it, where you have to be the one drafting KPI for everyone. So that's my challenge, and it's been very difficult trying to cope with it. And difficult in the sense that I'm actually in the company that have up to like 1,500 employees. They have to do KPI for everyone. And I try to tell them that, look, drafting KPI is not a HR job. It's line manager's job, but it seems I'm speaking from another client. So how do you go about it? Trying to tell them that, look, this is how it should be done, and not the other way around.
So in that kind of case, what I have done before is that I'll do a bit of my groundwork, right? Do a bit of research about the role. So I'll do something that is like a sketch. I already work on something. It may not be 100% accurate, right? The truth is that happens. That's why I said reality is different from what people do. So, but what you do is you must have just worked around something, Google search, all these things, try to bring it with your understanding of your company, put something together and send to them to review, as against that they are creating it from scratch. People are lazy. I'm telling you the truth. Some are not lazy. Some are also very busy. Some managers are very busy, but so you have done that groundwork of just having it all together somewhere. Then you send to them and you tell them, please, review, that this is what we used to measure you. Don't tell me later that. So it also comes from a place of your own interpersonal relationship as well. For me, I maintain a very solid relationship with almost everybody I work with, so that I can then be entering them. It can be a very annoying job sometimes, right? So do it, then begin to wind them. Review it. Is this one okay? Is that one okay? Blah blah blah. All those kind of gimmicks. It can be tiring, but it's what it is in some places, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Okay, Lubukola.
Okay, I'm not sure who actually asked that question, but it will work for. But let me just add a suggestion that works for me, right? I've also managed that kind of large workforce, and what I did was sometimes people will not listen to rather than so on externally, right? I'm not pitching company or whatever, but I mean, you can get someone like Femi, an expert, come into the organization, make it look like a training for senior management. You are trying to change their mindset, right? To they taking responsibility for this particular exercise. Because if you're doing it for everyone and say, let us look at it together. Okay, you're gonna take a long 3 months. You are still doing it when everyone could have done it. So get someone with a paper part. Let them come in. Your focus will not be on handing over the process. Your focus will be on mind shift. This is how on. This is the process flow. This is the framework we'll be using. This is the objective, blah, blah, blah. This is how you draft smart. This is what we'll do to implement all the way to reward. At that point, they're already taking ownership because someone else is telling them who should be responsible for it.
Yeah.
That's all you need. Do that. Might cost a little money, and you can throw it into your strategy retreat session. Not necessarily bringing everyone and make them sit down and listen to them. Make it look like it's a retreat session. We're trying to change the way the business moves, the way the business works, right? And then someone telling them how to do it. Trust me, you would have that project off your table, and the only thing you'll be doing is assisting on how they now set those KRAs or KPIs or whichever framework you then intend to use, and then you are the one who is now executing, ensuring compliance and fairness, like Femi has been saying all day. So that's my recommendation to you.
Awesome. That's very correct. Awesome. So that's one of the reasons why we bring external folks, consultants, and all of that. Thank you very much, Bukola. Very interesting. I think I even enjoyed myself. I learned, and it's good. Thank you so much for the feedback. So I'm going to send mail to all of us after now, so we can just get back on how it goes. So thank you. This is me saying thank you for joining. Let me see how many of my slides I didn't touch. Wow. Okay. Some other time. It will be my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. See you next time when we have this privilege. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very
Can
much.
we get the recording of the section?
I will send it.
But Femi, I don't think you have my email. How do you have my email?
Thank you so much for this session. It was amazing.
If you did not register, please just send a mail to me. I'm sending my mail now so that you can get the recording. Consult olufemi@gmail.com. Please. If you didn't register, if you just joined with the link, please join. Yeah, I don't really have a community. I'm not good with community. I'm not good with it. I will use some people I've trained, but I'm not good at keeping up with that stuff. So I prefer online and stuff. All right. So send me a mail, consult@gmail.com. If you just joined, you didn't register. Thank you. See you later. Yep. Bye. Okay.